The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. It is a pleasure to have you here, but it is not a pleasure for me to be here in this current geographic area where, while I'm thrilled to be hosting this podcast in the abstract, let me tell you, being here in the city of Miami is a sweltering hellscape. It is so hot here. I'm going to die. This is brutal. This is just I've lived in Miami my whole life. All right. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is not me being a new entrant to the humidity soaked mess that is Miami. But this year in particular, this early in the calendar, for it to just be like dripping wet the moment you step out of your door kind of humidity. Like, we don't even get to say here in Miami, it's hot. Oh, but it's a dry heat. No, it is not a dry heat. It is a wet, hot American heat here in Miami. And I cannot bear it much longer, but at least I'm joined in good company. Let's go ahead and bring on our co-host this week, Elisa Rockdog. Elisa, is Texas a similar vibe right now meteorologically?
Like out of the frying pan into the 7th, 8th circle of, I don't know. It's sticky.
It's bad.
It's sticky. These let me see. I don't know what your highs are like coming up, but I am seeing all of the triple digit temperatures. And that's not even the feels like.
You grew up in Miami, so you know that the mercury temperature, the actual honest to God temperature in Miami, is always misleading, right? Because it's it's 91. You know, that's, you got to wear shorts today and a short sleeve shirt, but it's going to feel good. And then you get outside and it feels like it's 300 degrees because that humidity just torches you. So, like, a Miami 91 is like an Arizona 115.
It's real bad. It's really sticky. The mosquito situation is out of control. So that's bad. Everybody, please take care of all of your standing water situations to make sure that we don't have like a dengue situation happening and everything. The summer is sweltering. Stay hydrated. Spritz down some clothes with a light mist of water and shove them in the freezer, so that when you get back from your mental health walk, you can just change into something fresh. I don't know, man. It's hard out here.
I am down with that. That sounds terrific. I'm gonna have to dabble in those dark arts later. That is, well, I didn't even realize growing up in Miami how different we are until I moved to New York for the first time. And I brought and I'm meeting like my roommates who are from the Northeast, and I take out of my bag my industrial sized container of Gold Bond powder. And they were just like, what is that? I was like, you don't put Gold Bond all up in your insides to, keep from the stickiness from being too sticky? And they looked at me like I had leprosy. Like that, I found out that day, apparently that's just a Miami or humidity thing.
No. And what's great is growing up, born and raised in Puerto Rico, and my mom and my grandmother and so many women of my family always carried hand fans with them. And I've sort of started, to absorb becoming my mother in my 30s now, but getting all of the good life hacks. And honestly, carrying a hand fan has been so clutch. And everybody looks at me like I'm a sorceress when I pull that thing out, in the middle of summer, and I just start going, and they're like, oh, what? That's brilliant. And I'm like, yeah. That's just
you got to fully commit to the hand fan lifestyle, though. If you're going to whip out one of those, you better have a good supervillain quip at the ready. Just, throw that out and be like,
you have to whack it too.
And I want all of the puppies.
Wow. Yeah. You have to give it a good whack. You have to give it a good whack. I actually have one for the viewers and listeners at home that don't get to witness the magic. I'm actually pointing out one of my many hand fans that I have specifically for my makeup purposes. So I have a hand fan sitting there. I got one in my purse. I got one in another purse. I got hand fans everywhere.
I see producer Lauren hand fanning herself in the green room as we speak. Everybody's committed to that hashtag hand fan life. Before we get into our proceedings, Elisa, I want to throw this at you, okay? I have for you a crazy music stat.
Okay.
All right? I'm just coming out with this. Like, I love to just kind of find these. Like, somebody throws them at me on Twitter, and I found one. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to hit Elisa with this. Going to blow her mind with her crazy music stat. What's that?
You're the Haberstro of the music industry. Let's
go.
Oh,
absolutely. I want you to just emotionally prepare yourself. All right. Like if you need to,
hold on.
if you need to like get hydrated, stretch out a little bit, kind of get the joints working, whatever you got to do, because this is a crazy music stat. All right. Brace yourself. From Eric Alper on Twitter. Since 2014, there are only 2 songs that have made the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 that had a single solo artist, writer, and producer that were all the same person. So one person, solo artist, writer, producer, and they're it. Okay. And since 2014, only 2 songs have made the top 5 of the Hot 100 that fit that description. All right.
Ooh.
The first one is "Take Me to Church" by Hozier.
Yeah.
Wrote it, produced it, starred in it.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
One-man operation. The second one, brace yourself, is "Running Up That Hill" by Kate Bush.
Good for her. Like this whole last couple of weeks, I've been going, you know what? Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. Because she just entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 4, which I think is higher than that song did when it was a thing in the 80s.
It's brilliant to me. The ability and of course you probably like rail about this whole situation about like, hey, the legal system needs to catch up with the idea that like people are rediscovering this music in like very, very fun and novel ways that may or may not be legal.
Well, there's that.
And not necessarily fair use, but like the idea of as an artist in my 30s and running up that hill myself. I'm pretty hurt from running up that hill myself. It gives
making a deal with God.
I would switch our places. So I'm very heartened by the idea that I could create something now, and that with the way that media has gone nowadays, with everything being so much more accessible, there is the possibility of something that I create now actually getting new life in 20, 30, 40 years. And that's a really cool thought.
It's magnificent, and it makes me happy for a lot of these old creators who can, see their music take on a second life, and just getting a whole new generation just appreciating, the stuff from the eras that came before them. It's so awesome. It's so pure. And in Kate Bush's case, has she like made any public appearances? I haven't seen her anywhere. I just kind of imagine her just kind of staying in her house with her hand fan, just kind of, just fanning herself. Oh, I'm the biggest artist in the world. I'm so happy for her.
I doubt it. It's just probably just like sitting at home and like probably like a cool castle somewhere.
Yeah. She definitely lives in a castle for sure.
With, that got a phone call, or like gets like a text from somebody being like, hey, Stranger Things, huh? She's like, what? What's an 11? It's just like completely being like, wait, I'm what? I'm fit. Why am I hearing my song on the radio again? This is weird.
How about that? I'm the biggest artist in the world. Okay. Well, speaking of awesome, prestigious artists, thrilled for the guest that we got coming up in the second half of this show. One of my favorites. I still have the Unclassified album just constantly playing on loop. You always have those albums from your formative years that still find their ways into the algorithms on your playlist. And his work is very much there. Our guest coming up in the second segment is Robert Randolph, renowned pedal steel guitarist. And he's going to be talking about The Juneteenth Unity Fest block party and concert happening in Brooklyn on June 19th. The event was online last year. This is going to be the first live in-person version of the event, and it's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to talk to all of him about it. And just, I for one, I got so many like kind of just foundational Robert Randolph, like, who are you questions that I hope he doesn't just get like annoyed by them. But like, I for one am interested in knowing like how he got into the pedal steel guitar, when I imagine so many other folks in his genre or just in mainstream music opt for the handheld version. For those of you who don't know, a pedal steel guitar, the best way I could describe it is, what if guitar could desk? What if guitar desk?
What if guitar desk?
Pedal steel. I couldn't even tell you like what all the pedals do and like what they're doing up there, but it functions the same way as a guitar, and it has a really cool, unique sound that if you ever hear a pedal steel guitar on a record, you know it, because it doesn't sound like the thing you just like wrap around your shoulders and, you know, just get to strumming. It's a really cool, unique sound, and he plays the crap out of it. And I love hearing, I'm so excited just to hear about just everything that he does, his background, how he got to where he is, and of course to hear all about Juneteenth Unity Fest. What a cool event this is going to be, with, you know, Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday. This is landing on Father's Day. So much cool stuff going on with that. It's going to be great. I'm fanboying big time over here. I know you're excited too.
Yes.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's gonna be great stuff. A lot of great music news generally, though. Like, I'm just in a fabulous good mood. You know, like you and I, Elisa, since we've known each other, we've always been Grammy fans. We do the Grammy pool thing, and whenever there's Grammy news, I want to talk to you about it. And this particular Grammy news definitely made me go, I gotta talk to Elisa about this, because the Grammys just announced that starting at next year's Grammy Awards for 2023. They're going to be unveiling some new categories, including, and file this under It's About G-Darn Time here, they're finally adding a Songwriter of the Year category. I mean, you know, about 50 years overdue. We've only been screaming for this forever. You have a Producer of the Year category. Why don't you have a Songwriter of the Year? Finally. But I think the category that you're most excited about, Rock Doc, I'll let you tell them about it.
Yes, there is now going to be a category specifically for video games, for music written for video games. Now, granted, this is not the first time the video games have appeared on the Grammys. Baba Yetu from Civ, I think, 4? Was a theme that was nominated for Best Instrumental Arrangement Accompanying Vocalist category. And then also the Journey soundtrack was nominated for Best Score, but it lost to Trent Reznor and Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, which womp womp. But
running a little bit of a buzzsaw there.
Video games have been like dipping their toe into the Grammys, and now it's like finally they're getting their due, which is very interesting.
It's a welcome development, and you would know this better than most folks from working in the industry, that the music that's coming out of that particular medium, like, this ain't chip tunes anymore. There's full-blown orchestras going into some of this work. It's just as ambitious as music getting made for film. And because the video game industry is larger than even the film industry these days, more ears are arguably listening to video game music than film music. So why not have a Grammy category for it?
To wit, the intersection of video game music and the wider music industry is now like enmeshed more than ever. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game coming out, and they just announced that like a couple of members of Wu-Tang are just out on the song like soundtrack for this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And soundtracks are getting vinyl releases, and like it is its own cottage industry, just making banging tunes for video games these days. And I'm glad that like these folks are actually gonna maybe get some wider music industry due at the Grammys. That's really cool.
Good to see them rewarded, good to see them recognized. And I think this is a good first step for the music industry's acknowledgement of the gaming industry and the impact that gaming has towards music. but I think it is just a first step. I think in 10, 15 years from now, there has to be a wider discussion of not just one category for music and video games, but multiple. I think we have to see this as any other medium that's going to get multiple Grammy categories. I think particular performances by recording artists in musical in video game music performances should be recognized. Producers, this award that's being awarded in 2023 is for the score soundtrack. How about best individual song for a video game in the same way that we have a best individual song for motion pictures? There's a lot of space to explore here. And again, given the size of the gaming industry and that it is the largest of the entertainment industries out there, it dwarfs movies and music. It should be acknowledged to that same respect in the Grammys. And I know it takes the Grammys a little bit of time to kind of catch up and things like that, but I think we're well into that point. And to me, that's an exciting prospect because you know better than anybody, Elisa, there's a lot of tremendous music professionals working in that industry who do not get their due by the Recording Academy.
Absolutely. And just like I'm already mourning the fact that the Hades soundtrack can't be like retroactively showered with a bunch of Grammys. And like I want that individual song category to exist for the Hades soundtrack and so many others. Like it's like the budgets of video games are like almost as big, if not bigger, than a lot of major motion pictures these days. So it's almost like, hey, like we're not a bunch of people just making random stuff for an arcade anymore. Like this is a legitimate, like creative, artistic, huge business industry that needs its due. Dang it.
Well, it needs its due, and we're not just saying that because like, oh, they feel disrespected, they need more respect. Like this has a real economic impact too, because the more that the Grammys can acknowledge the music that's getting made for this medium, the more prestigious it becomes, and the more that the professionals in those industries can be more adequately compensated for the work that they're doing. Because I'm guessing, and you'd know this, but I'm guessing that the average musician that composes something for a video game is probably not making what they would make if they were making the same composition for a major motion picture, even though the labor and the activity is fundamentally similar. And that has nothing to do with anything other than just the fact that we acknowledge one form of media with respect to music to be more prestigious than the other. So when the Grammys starts to acknowledge these categories, starts to tell people in the industry, this music matters, we're going to give them a beautiful gramophone statute, that tells the industry we need to start respecting and compensating the amazing professionals that work in that industry. And some of those amazing professionals that are working in film might start finding their way into video games. And I, for one, would love a John Williams video game soundtrack. So how about that?
Yeah. And I think it also acknowledges the fact that, like, take any jazz artist that's sort of like contemporary right now and tell me that they were not inspired by like Final Fantasy or like anime soundtracks and like all of that stuff. Like, I have literally seen YouTube videos about people analyzing, like, did video game music actually like save jazz as a genre? Because now you see all of these folks that are now like super inspired by video game music. So I think it is high time. It's interesting though that it almost feels like the Grammys got scared that video game music was about to like win awards in very prestigious categories, and it's like, now you get your own category. Whoops. That's like, don't touch the fancy stuff yet.
Yeah. Well, and before we leave our Grammys discussion, we would be giving this whole topic short shrift if we didn't also recognize a really cool category that's going to be started up with the 2023 Grammys, which is a special merit award that will be given out starting next year for Best Song for Social Change. Gotta love that. Yeah, that's I don't think it's going to be like a traditional category. I think it gets like kind of a separate mention, like a like a Cecil B. DeMille kind of.
Might be like in the afternoon they give that one out.
Well, I bet a lot of these categories that they're going to be giving out next year, like Best Americana Performance is a new one, Best Spoken Word Poetry Album. A lot of those are going to be like the pre-telecast ones. I'd love for them for this first Grammys
to put the video game one in there just to kind of
would be
welcome
so
it to the
cool.
party for
Oh.
the actual Sunday telecast. I bet we could get there.
That'd be amazing.
Anyway, before we go to break here, one of the things that I also love to do with Elisa is because, you know, when she's not dazzling us here as with her amazing co-hosting, she's working in this industry as an indie creator, wearing a rack full of indie creator hats, doing all kinds of different things. And I love to just kind of check in on you, Elisa, and see what's going on with various projects. I know you were telling me that you actually had a pretty cool little breakthrough that you're doing recently on the acting side. And I'd love to kind of talk about that because I think your experience might be informative for other indie creators who are going down a similar path. What you been up to?
Yeah, sure. I love coming here every month because it's almost like it drives me to do something or make some sort of progress because I know you're gonna check in on me.
I gotta tell Ryan about something.
Like I have to check in. So I had a really cool experience recently where I do voiceover as well as on-camera work from time to time, and I've been looking for representation. Trying to get an agent, and I had a meeting with an agent today.
Ooh.
It was really cool. It was my very first time doing it. I read up a bunch of articles about like what to expect from your agency audition, and they all flew in and out of my ears. So I did not feel as prepared, but it was a really cool experience because I got to learn a lot about what it is that people look for and how the industry has changed in some ways. And they sort of let me know that like, hey, like due to the last couple of years, the way that you could get work remotely has increased, but also that means that your competition for roles has increased as a voiceover artist because of remote recording and everything. It was a really cool experience. I did some cold reads. I did a monologue. It was a virtual meeting, which a lot of the advice that I read was based on like in-person agency meetings, but like this agency meeting is due to the pandemic happening on a virtual thing. So it was really weird being in an audition space, like, but still at home. I don't know. It was a lot, but very cool.
I'm sure the imposter syndrome sufferer that I'm talking to is going to respond to this with, no, I didn't. But I'm sure that you did an excellent job and excited to see what comes of it. So from that experience, since nobody has kind of written the book on the pandemic audition process yet,
Oh, God.
for the creators out there who are maybe getting into that space and maybe have that audition coming down the road, do you have any advice for them on the remote auditions?
Yeah, sure. Definitely adjust your camera situation. Make sure that you have it set up so that if you're doing a cold read, you have your copy set up in such a way that it can align with your camera sight line pretty well, so that you're not seen like darting all over the place. Check, and recheck your audio and your visual. If you have an animal that likes to walk across your mixer and likes to chew on cables, make sure that they are situated properly before the meeting. It's interesting. It's like be comfortable, but don't be too comfortable because you are going to be kind of in your own space. It almost kind of lures you a little bit into a false sense of security. But when it comes to an agency audition, that's kind of almost a good thing because they want to make money on your behalf. So like they want you to do well at the audition as much as
You have
much as
aligned incentives here, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of also just like are you going to be a nightmare to work with? It's like, yes, can you do the job? Can you read this? Are you an actor? You know, at the point that I got the audition, they saw my reels, they saw a headshot, and they weren't freaked out. So like at that point, it's not to say that you're in, but it's more of a learning experience and wanting to know whether they can work with you and whether you can work with them, and then also take direction on the fly. That's another thing you got to be able to do.
So how did you get the audition? Any advice on that?
I put myself out there. I literally Googled agents. Agents near me. Top
You had to
agents.
sift through like 50 pages of insurance agents, but eventually.
The hottest talent agents near you. Local. They're waiting now. Call now. But essentially, like going through a list of all of the local agents, and basically figuring out like, hey, do I need local representation? What would it take for me to get like national representation? Just Star Local is fine. But like looking at all of the submission requirements, and some of them have, they want different kinds of reels. Some of them want a resume. Some of them want headshots. Some of them want different things depending on the work. There are some of them that they will not even look at you unless you have a referral from an industry professional. That's how like picky they are. It's like they already want to know that you've been working and have a network even before taking your email. So it's really good to do your research and see what all the different requirements are. But basically, once I did that, that just basically became a to-do list of stuff I needed to check off and attach to a whole bunch of emails that I just sent out, and then, set alarm reminders, and then, also look at the different sites, because they will also include things like, don't contact us like every week for
No
an answer.
follow-ups or
Yeah, like if you contact us within 6 months of your submission, if you haven't heard anything, then like no. So definitely pay attention to those, and then just set those little reminders on your phone to follow up until hopefully something bites. And in the meantime, keep working and keep hustling, so that then when you update your resume, you have an excuse to send another email being like, hey, here's a copy of my updated resume. I have a couple of more titles on here. So that gives you like a reason to give them a bump. So then it's like, oh, and you've been working, I see. Well, hello. So yeah.
That's tremendous. So thrilled for you. Thanks for the advice and the insight there.
Fingers crossed. I hope they like me enough. So we'll see. We'll see next month how I did.
Yeah. Well, that'll be your next report. So looking forward to hearing it. And looking forward to coming right back after the break here to talk to our guest, Robert Randolph. We're going to take a quick 2 and 2, and we'll be right back here on Break the Business. Don't go anywhere.
Kairalla here. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of it. I do what I do because I care about creators like you. A lot. I've dedicated my career to helping creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and organizations move forward. I do it by hosting this program, and I'm also proud to do it in my legal practice. If you're a creative professional looking for solutions-oriented legal services to help you further your goals, I'd love to help. My firm RKPA does contracts, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Visit rkpalaw.com to learn more. That's rkpalaw.com. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. You can check us out on Facebook Live, Twitch, YouTube Live, all those streaming services, and all the major podcast platforms, and on Sirius XM, channel 145, Mondays at 6 p.m. Wherever you're checking us, we're lucky and happy to have you there. I'm Ryan Kairalla, joined by Elisa Rockdock and what appears to be Elisa Rockdock's cat,
Yes.
who just thrilled to have joining us. And but that cat is not the only guest that we have right now. Our guest this week is a renowned pedal steel guitarist and the frontman for the 4-time Grammy-nominated Robert Randolph and the Family Band. This month, our guest's foundation is presenting Juneteenth Unity Fest, an all-day block party and concert in Brooklyn on June 19th, bringing together diverse voices in commemoration and celebration of Juneteenth and Black culture. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting www.juneteenthunityfest.com and www.robertrandolph.net. We are thrilled to welcome Robert Randolph on To Break the Business. Hello, sir.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
It is going so great. What a thrill to be chatting with you. This is so cool. One of the things that I wanted to talk with you about first, we were mentioning in the opening segment that one of the things that I wanted to do is, because I've loved your music for, as long as you've been making it. I still have the Unclassified album just playing on my my Spotify all the time. But in preparation for this interview, I got to read a little bit more about you and sort of your influences, and I was particularly intrigued by the gospel influences in your music, which are obvious, but I didn't know that they're kind of rooted in the fact that it wasn't just that you were exposed to gospel music throughout your childhood. You were exposed only to gospel music for most of your young life, and you didn't hear any secular music until much later. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, and what was it like for you when you actually started integrating secular elements into your music for the first time and starting putting those albums out?
Well, actually, I used to sneak and listen to hip hop, Biggie and Tupac and all that, A Tribe Called Quest and all that. But, but when I started playing because our church was really a sort of a chitlin circuit across all of the inner cities, really along the East Coast. So I went to the church here in New Jersey and Newark, which we have other affiliates, Jersey City, Patterson. But we had our own little chitlin circuit. We would go to Atlanta, Perrine, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Detroit, Chicago. So it was kind of like our own little thing that we had. But the more I started to get into, a cousin of mine actually gave me a tape of Stevie Ray Vaughan's greatest hits. And that was the first time. I was about 16 and a half at that point, and actually going on 17, So that was the first time I actually tried to play something secular at that point. And that kind of just stuck with me. So it was either I was just playing like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then I was trying to do a little Anita Baker type songs at that time. Just because the way that she melodically sings kind of fits with my slide, at least how I wanted to try to play at the time. So I just stuck on doing that for probably the next 3 years until I met my first manager. It was got to be about 20 going on 21. We had sort of had the same conversation. Next thing you know, I get home and there's like a box of 100 different CDs, right? It's so funny, right?
So you're getting a crash course at this point.
Oh yeah, and in that box was like everything from Zeppelin to Skinner to the Allman Brothers to all of the James Brown and the JBs and P-Funk. It was literally just everything. The band, so many. So it took me, even still to this day, because what's funny about music is you kind of fall in love with a record sort of every year. So that was sort of the thing, that was sort of like my journey, and it still is, because I'm still learning. I just learned about Bad Company probably about 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. You're like all the Gen Zers who are just discovering Kate Bush for the first time.
Yeah.
You're trying to go around to all your friends right now and be like, you heard this group Bad Company? And they're like,
That's
Robert, yes, we have.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned P-Funk, but I see that you have an upcoming show with George Clinton. And I'm just thinking, how wild is that now you're sharing a stage with with one of those folks that showed up in that box of CDs.
What's even more funny than that is George Clinton and Gary Scheider and all those guys grew up with my mother in Plainfield, New Jersey. So they all grew up as kids together. And some way, somehow we related to Gary Scheider, like one of my mom's older cousins was married to him. I don't know, something like that. So
That's wild. And now y'all get to play together.
just in case you don't know who Gary Scheider is, he's the one that wears the pamper, right? the big diaper. The funky singing guitar player that wears a diaper. But yeah, so that was that connection between all of us and musically, and it is kind of sort of full circle of life and music and funk and inspiration to not only be playing a show with George Clinton, that I get to actually talk to him and get advice and what not to do, you know.
That's great. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the pedal steel guitar, because it is I don't listen to a lot of country music. I listen to a little bit. And so I don't get exposed to that instrument a lot outside of listening to your music, just in my common diet of listening. And I love the sound of it. It's distinctive. You know, when you hear a pedal steel guitar on a record, and it fills you up. It's so great. And I've always wondered, and maybe you can kind of help me with this, why aren't we seeing this instrument more in mainstream genres, in rock and soul? Like, are there any pedal steel guitar players in your genre that you're like, this person should have mainstream success, more people should know about him?
I mean, there's a pedal steel player named Paul Franklin, who's like one of the great guys. I mean, he's mainly known for country music and or playing with, you know, many different great folk writers, songwriters, and singers. But you know, I guess it's only me. I mean, no, there's some other young kids now that's coming along playing. There's a great band of the band called Cadillac 3. They have a great lap steel player. It's like a 3-piece, and they get down and dirty, kind of. It's almost like a southern hip funk rock or something, you know. So,
what got you into it as opposed to like the guitar that you put around your neck?
Well, my church organization is known for that, right? So in the early 1930s, there was a guy named Willie Easton that came back from the war from that was a part of our early church organization called the House of God in Florida. And he's basically started because at that time, the churches couldn't afford organs and pianos. So it was a very early Pentecostal gospel movement. So he started this style of playing, which then led to here we are today, right? It's basically the hidden story of American music that's been well documented in the last 25 years or so. Now the stories into the Smithsonian African American Museum, because there's been this, we've sort of like been this hidden sort of Buena Vista Social Club type of music that's been going on. And it's like not in the country. This is all in the damn hood everywhere you could think of, right? So everybody hear me playing, they go like, man, where you from, man? You must be from, man, the backwoods of Louisiana, man. I'm from North, man. The bricks.
Jersey.
We from Jersey, you know? And it's funny because a lot of my friends will see me today if I run into them or somebody I haven't seen. They're like, man, we used to tease you, man. Guess it because they used to like yell up, I had a house on the corner and we growing up, and they were always like yell up like, yo, man, quit playing that country ass guitar, man. Get your ass outside, man. Yeah. What the hell you doing, man? Come on outside and play with us. And then hear me in there. Yeah.
You know what I think pedal steel needs, Elisa, and I think you can attest to this, like, because you're as addicted to this platform as I am. We need like one kid to just become the pedal steel guitar person on TikTok. That's gonna do it, right?
Hey, listen, I'm already on to that, boy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm working on some type of thing like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm no kid, but
No, but I'll follow you right now. I did not know you were on TikTok.
real quick.
Yeah,
No,
we're both getting our phones
actually,
out.
no, I'm not. But I'm working on this idea. So,
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, I have.
you're gonna
some
leave
type
us
of-
hanging? Come on.
Keep us updated.
Nah, I ain't gonna tell y'all because somebody gonna steal my idea, man.
No.
Not y'all, but come on, man.
Look.
Somebody gonna see this and they gonna be taking my idea. And
We're all friends. It's just you, me, Elisa, and the satellite radio audience. Like we're all friends here, man. Tell us
Hey.
about your cool TikTok plan.
Hey, that's what I thought about some other ideas I had, right? Just like, hey,
Oh.
man, it's just me and you, man. And next thing you know, it's
Uh-huh.
hey, man, isn't that my
Yeah.
idea, man? Hey, man, did we discuss that?
It's probably not the first time he's been told that by a lawyer. Oh yeah, just between you and me, you can trust me. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's fine.
Yes,
See.
between us, man.
See.
You know.
Robert's been around the block too many times. He knows
Yeah,
that. So
man.
I can understand.
But you
Please.
can look for it. I'm actually
Yeah.
off. I don't even know how to actually log on to TikTok, so I have somebody else working on to it. Seems
Yeah.
a little,
You got someone for that. Look,
yeah.
you need a TikTok lesson. The person right above me in the box
Oh,
above me,
God,
that's who you got to talk to. She's the
Oh.
TikToker.
Okay, all right.
She'll get you set up.
No.
Come
No,
on,
I
get
am-
me
I
set
am-
up and let's work on this thing because I got to get it together.
Okay. I mean, I am also probably way too ancient to be on that app, but let's go.
Trying to get you some TikTok videos with Robert Randolph, at least. Let's play ball here.
I'm into
If you could, Robert, please tell us about your upcoming concert event, Juneteenth Unity Fest in Brooklyn, June 19th. So cool. Glad you were finally able to bring this event into the real world for the first time. What inspired you to set up this particularly awesome looking event?
I guess, as we were coming off of the, when the world was shut down and we were all confined to our couches and phones and as we actually coming off of the George Floyd murdering and people forget at that time, like right before that, like nobody, like you were told to not even go outside and breathe the air, right? We would so nobody was outside. Everybody had these curfews, like you could only go and take a walk and you have to be home by 5 p.m., right? Or something like that. And after that whole thing happened, right, and the world saw it, then the world took to the streets. So we went from that into sort of the sort of first official social media craze of finding out about Juneteenth. So there was all these corporations, and then you had like many white people like kind of going, how do we support? It's Juneteenth. I don't know what it is. Well, let's just go support Black businesses, right? So, and you had many corporations writing big checks to a lot of different organizations and so forth. So when I saw the overwhelming support of the world finally trying to come together, and being that Juneteenth was really widely always celebrated in the state of Texas, that there was just this more this feeling that the world the country really just sort of had enough, and everybody just wanted to get together and try to enjoy what would be a holiday, which is now an official holiday, right, for African Americans. See, people forget we don't have a holiday, right? I mean, you got everybody else's holiday. We support Cinco de Mayo, and right, and you go to St. Patty's Day, and you do all of that, and then it's like, hey, man, I thought, man, Martin Luther King Day was your holiday. It's like, no, it's Martin Luther King Day. It's got nothing to do with me.
Name's right on there.
Yeah, it's just MLK Day, right? He was assassinated, right? And it's like, it's got nothing to do with me in our culture and history. So on this day, we now get to not only, celebrate and talk about our history and all the many different hidden cultures and stories that we've been through for the 300-400 years we've been here, right? That we actually could celebrate. And not only that, I had a foundation and I saw how many people had been working in these. I'm sure you guys know somebody in your home neighborhood that has a grassroots organization that's been looking to seek for help. So largely the idea was to be able to align and give the sort of grassroots found organizations a platform to be able to align them with many donors, to be able to get some spotlight shed on them. And we've done that, especially the first year for our virtual event. There were so many people that were aligned with an organization called Heal America, then another organization. We had Now Rogers Family Foundation, Jaimin Hatsu, the great actor, Usher's New Look Foundation, the Amazon Foundation. So all of these different people became connected from the first year. And as we're doing it this year, as there are many Juneteenth celebrations happening around the country, and trust me, many of them have like different themes, and some of them will confuse you, to be honest with you. But we wanted to be able to have a real celebration, and it not only just have a celebration, to have ours be very different, with a gospel inspirational themed celebration at Prospect Park, as well as a house music, old school hip hop, R&B block party feel that's happening under the bridge with DJ Spinner and a cast of other people, Josh Milan. And it's gonna be an awesome historic day. We got Ty Tribbett performing, we got the great Israel Holden, we got the legend Miss Deborah Cox, we got another great young artist, Molly Music, and it's going to be the coming out party for Juneteenth Unity Fest live at Prospect Park, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God. I love it. And you can check out more by visiting JuneteenthUnityFest.com. And by the way, that is how you have to refer to Deborah Cox in any capacity. You have to say the full name, the legend, Ms. Deborah Cox. Like anything else is unacceptable.
I tried that love thing for those famous. My heart said no. Right?
Nobody's supposed to be here. Nobody.
Hey, ain't that something? Nobody's supposed to be here.
Nobody's supposed to be here.
Man.
Oh, man.
And see, that was funny. It's like, see, those were the type of songs I used to sneak and try to play on my guitar when I was young, right?
Yeah.
You back in the day, you're a teenager and you get some girl you like, you're like, hey baby, watch me play this song, man.
I gotta hear more about this.
Player, it works.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, people forget about those days when you actually used to have to talk on the phone and you fall asleep and you're like, no, babe, you hang up. Hey, you're like, wait, before I hang up, let's listen to my favorite song. Okay, yeah, sing it to me, baby. Play it for me, Robert.
Put the phone
Remember
on the
that
speaker.
day?
Yeah.
Yo, you hang up first. You hang up first. You hang up first. No. Right?
I can't tell you what an honor it is to be on the receiving end of Robert Randolph as a 13-year-old pitching woo. But having to keep it muffled so that the people in his house don't know that he's singing secular music to whoever he's talking to on the other end.
I never forget, man. I got caught listening to the NWA record. My father, he must have been standing there and hear me cursing up a storm. Man.
NWA. Okay, sorry. I'm not gonna interrupt. Please keep going. Tell us about this.
That was like the devil. All I remember was him busting through the door with some big huge thing when I tell you about listening to this music in my house.
To be fair, Robert, if you're in a no secular music household and you're gonna break the rule, you gotta break the rule with Richard Marx or something, all right? If you're coming at him with NWA,
which one was Richard Marx that had that no, Richard Marx is great. I know what song you talk about, man. He had great artists.
I mean, don't be too mad, Dad. It's just Pat Boone. No, you're going on with NWA.
NWA.
I mean, might as well.
I was allowed to listen to secular music growing up, and if I was playing NWA, I'd get in trouble.
That's what's so funny about today. We all, as we're older, we sort of get into these things I can't believe these kids listen to this stuff today. And it's man, I tell people, I'm like, man, do y'all realize what? I mean, at that time, between Foxy Brown and NWA, what are we talking about, man? You know,
Oh man.
like that was, and Trina, Foxy Brown, Luke, and NWA. Like that was like,
Yeah.
they were like, boy, you get a boy,
Yeah,
your grandmother coming in with a
We went to
switchboard.
middle school together in Miami.
Oh, yeah,
so
we're-
it's
We're familiar with Trina's handiwork.
Ooh, y'all remember that stuff, boy. Boy,
God.
the world wasn't ready for that, boy, because it was all just sort of, you know, people were still listening to Luther and Freddie Jackson and all of that coming off of smooth jazz and R&B and early hip hop with, like, you know, self-destruction. Yeah, and then Trina like, you don't know that hoe. That's lost a thing like me. That's dropped a thing like me.
like, oh,
Oh my God.
Remember that? Ooh, boy.
Oh man.
You get a boy, you better not go. You really get caught, boy.
See, you know it's gonna be the Miami music getting Robert Randolph in trouble, of course.
Yeah,
Oh man, this
yeah,
is
man.
I can't even keep it
It's a
straight.
wild. It was wild days, man. But I'm really excited. Just see all of these different stories, and I mean, people forget as African Americans, like we've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And I remember, it's funny because a cousin of mine has all of his grammar school, and high school textbooks, right? And at no point in time, like, his history books taught him about our own culture, right? It's kind of like Frederick Douglass, and just keep talking about Rosa Parks and Dr. King, and right? And it's kind of like, man, what happened between like 1889 and 1955?
Yeah.
It's kind of like nothing happened. Oh, we were just stupid, dumb people. And you forget about, like, all of these stories of the black farmers, the black cowboys, all of the different, not just Tulsa. I mean, we had like 30 other thriving communities, thriving cities. I mean, right here in New York, Central Park had the community. You people, like the stories of the Black Renaissance in Harlem, right? And it's just all of these things that we as African Americans, descendants of slaves in this country, many of us don't even know, right? I've learned so much just from planning these two, last year the virtual event and this year the Juneteenth live event, from all the different celebrities. Because don't forget, everybody's family is from some part of the country, right? That's all connected. And I tell people this, I say, listen, my name is Robert Randolph. My family comes from the Randolph Plantation, which is now Richmond, Virginia, right? We got a whole tree. Many of my grandfather's brothers, sisters, his uncles and aunts are very, very, very light. Right? So when you start following, where did these guys go? Who were they? Right? My great grandmother lived to be 99. She died in 1999. And she would tell us all of these stories, how she didn't even know what they were doing. Her mom would just tell them, y'all come out here and help me work. And, Mom, what are we going to eat for dinner? I don't know. Everybody shared the same plate. Didn't know that they were on a plantation still. Right?
Wow.
Down in Florida.
So when you talk about Unity Fest being a celebration of bringing together diverse voices, celebrating Black culture, is part of the mission of this event and the work that you're doing to make sure that these stories get told, to make sure that this gap in our history books where we're not acknowledging Black culture and Black advancement, to finally start acknowledging it?
Well, yeah, I mean, because just think about this, right? You really only learn about other people's cultures and history through some holiday, right? And it's like, I have Jewish neighbors, right? And then let's say, like, I'm going out somewhere and I'm like, hey man, what you doing, man? Don't you supposed to be at work today? They go, oh no, man, it's Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. And you start going, well, what's that, man? They go, well, here's what we do on our holiday, and here's what it is, right? Or you have, like I said, St. Patty's Day. Like, hey man, what are you guys doing, man? Yeah, hey man, well, here's what it's about. How else would we know? Right?
Yeah.
Right. How else would we know what Mardi Gras means? Right. Right. So it is a time, at every holiday is a time of education and celebration. So we're gonna act like fools on Juneteenth. We're gonna get down, just like all of the Irish people do, and they bar hopping at 90 bar. Robert, come down, man. We at our 20th bar. Like, damn, bro, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Y'all start drinking already? Yeah, man, we're already at so and so, man. We on 3rd Street in Manhattan, man. Come on, man. Like, damn, bro, I'm tired, man. Shut up and come on and celebrate with us Irish people. All right, man, cool. So that's what we want everybody to do on Juneteenth. We want everybody to enjoy themselves, enjoy the holidays, learn about some new organizations you can support. One organization we're working with that I'm really fond of is it's an organization called the Cool Kids Fund, who they're a great organization that's focused on educating over 1 million kids with financial literacy, right? Underprivileged kids, things that normally you would have somebody tell you got to take out a $60,000 college loan to go to business school to learn. Like, you have that organization who we've partnered with, teaching kids, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, as well as adults, just all these different things about stock market, investments, IRAs, NFTs, everything that you could think of, and different ways to invest your money. Hey, you can buy real estate at the age of 13. Here's how you do it, right? So, I mean, all of these different things are important for us, for our communities, for our partners, for our donors, for our friends to come and celebrate, because don't forget too, right? I mean, people are like, oh man, you got Black History. We're like, man, it's cold as hell. Ain't nobody got no festival on Black History Month. I mean, we got
outstanding.
Yeah, you going to school and like, how come we don't have a real holiday that you take off and you get down and it's warm and hot outside and we bar crawl and food and eat and cook like everybody else on a holiday?
I mean, I do love the idea of New York in June. I do miss it very, very much. I love the community partnership element of what you're doing with this and just the celebration and this learning that's going to happen. I encourage y'all, check this out. Go to www.juneteenthunityfest.com. Find out more about this awesome event on June 19th in Brooklyn. Robert, before we let you go, Elisa, actually, why don't you ask Robert Randolph our final question that we ask every guest?
Yes. So every show, because the whole point of the show is we like to give indie creators advice. Do you have any advice for indie creators that can help push them and their careers forward?
What do you mean, like indie music creators or
Sure.
indie?
Yeah, anything.
I would say, never stop looking for inspiration. Always look to be unique in your own ways, and follow your heart. Don't be afraid to get criticism from your friends and from your not so close friends, but to follow your heart, follow your passion, because everybody started out as a indie label, right? People forget Motown was a indie small little label. Now it's the greatest ever living label to ever produce music, right? And the greatest artists, and so I remember, it's funny because I'm friends with the Dolans and people forget the first cable box was a indie idea, Cablevision. Remember you had the little box with the little buttons?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Telling on myself how old I am. But that was just a little small indie idea, right? And so everything starts off as a small independent idea, and who knows where it could be. I remember the first same manager who gave me those box of CDs was actually the first guy. He used to tell record labels at that time. He was like, his music needs to be on Amazon.com. And Amazon, they were like, what? Amazon sells books. Yeah, but it needs to be on that. Hey, man. And then finally, I think 2-3 years, like, hey, man, you played the Grammys. Your CD went to number 12 on Amazon. Everybody's like, well, what's Amazon? How about that?
Yeah. Robert, this has been absolutely tremendous. It's been an honor chatting with you, and thank you for all that you do for music and for Black culture and just so great. Please don't be a stranger, man. Anytime you want to come back, we'd love to chat with you some more.
Thank you.
Yeah, when
very
you make
much.
those
I appreciate
TikToks.
Yes, definitely. Oh, wow. Robert Randolph, everybody. How about that, Elisa?
Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh my God, that was great. And the tremendous guests keep on coming. Next week, we're going to be joined by neoclassical piano prodigy Black Bach. Excited for that discussion. Amazing piano player, played with Rihanna recently. So great. And just, I mean, the guest list for this show, like much how our friend Robert Randolph is going to keep mum his TikTok plans that we're all just waiting for with bated breath.
Yes.
I can't give away all the guests that we got coming up for the next couple months, but it's going to be an absolute blast around here. Do not go anywhere. Elisa, it's been a treat hanging out with you this week.
It's always a pleasure.
Our thanks to producer Lauren as well for keeping Robert Randolph on the rails there and making sure he could get set up. And thanks to Zach Sloan, who I know has been hanging out in the green room and we didn't bring him in. And I'm sure he's upset about that because he would have loved. There he is. Hey, Zach.
You look amazing.
Sure, I would have loved to talk to Robert Randolph. And my thanks to all of you, viewers and listeners, for checking out Break the Business. It's been awesome. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Break